Good morning and welcome to the first TECB quarterly webinar. I'm Molly Falls. Most of you know me, and I'll be your moderator for today. So just a few things while folks are joining, just some housekeeping items that we wanted to talk through. So for now, we're going to keep participant lines muted until, a point in the webinar or the end of the webinar. And at that point in time, we will open it up for discussion and questions and answers. If at any point during the webinar you want to ask a question, you can use the chat function, which is that second blue circle that we have highlighted here. And then to type out your question, and those questions will go directly to the facilitator, the leader of the conference, and then at that point, if Curtis, when you want to take a break or see if there are any questions along the way, Sheila can read them out loud. And then also just at the end, once we unmute the line, you can raise your hand and the phone line will be unmuted. Do we have all the lines muted?
Sounds like
Doesn't sound like it.
No. Sheila, can you mute the lines, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
14 days back up. If anything happens, surely within 14 days we'll know that.
You would think.
You can put the SD card on and record all of it. I think it hold up to a 32 gig SD, it's called up. If you look up security cameras on
All right, we're having trouble. If everyone could please mute their lines, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
We are hearing one person's conversation right now in particular, so could you please just double check your line? Sounds like there's two gentlemen having a conversation about security cameras.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. So let's move on. So again, let's get to the agenda today. So as part of the 2018 satisfaction survey, we heard a desire for more communication from the TECB. And as a result, the TECB wants to make some efforts to ensure that you're informed and engaged on the progress of the TECB projects. These quarterly webinars are going to be one way that we plan to share information and updates. Mr. Curtis Sutton, the Executive Director of the TECB, will use this time to provide timely updates on the important items and initiatives that are in progress. So in addition to these webinars, again, please mute your lines. In addition to the webinars, the TECB is also managing other communication efforts to keep you informed. And these efforts will include site visits, the monthly newsletter, the quarterly one-pagers. I believe the August updates they were posted just recently. Annual roundtable sessions at TINA, so that's coming up in September. And then the biannual satisfaction surveys and town hall meetings. For today's webinar, we're focused on Tennessee's leadership in Next Gen 911. For those of you who were able to attend the May town hall meetings, we received many questions about Next Gen 911 and the request to learn more about the solution. And, there was also an ask for more project updates and also an expressed desire for faster progress. Much of that we covered in the town halls, but we realized not everyone was there. And we're also using this time to expand a little bit more to share information about the history of Next Gen 911 in Tennessee, the objectives of the project. Mr. Sutton will give a solution overview and then also discuss the strategic plan and NextGen 911 initiatives. And with that, then we'll leave time for questions and answers in the end. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Curtis Sutton, the Executive Director of TECB, to talk about NextGen 911 in the state of Tennessee. Curtis, go ahead.
Thank you, Molly, and I'd like to thank everyone who's joined today and Mission Critical for putting this webinar together. We're going to start out just basically taking a look at our mission and values. This is kind of a refresher. We have this TECB mission statement as well as a value statement, and basically what it says is we are committed to serving the districts with respect and transparency. We're also committed to leading the way in Next Generation 911, and we remain accountable for our performance. Just to kind of set the stage with that, that's what we try to conduct ourselves under here at the TECB, and just want to remind everyone that our number one priority is to serve the districts. So with that, we'll get into some of the history of Next Generation 911 in Tennessee. If we can go on to the next slide, you'll see a timeline that walks through the past and present efforts of Next Generation 911 and shows the progress we've made as a state. The project was studied in 2006. That's when we began our work. But the work really began in earnest in 2011 when we identified the state's NET-TN network as the backbone on which Next Generation 911 could ride. So you'll see there's some important dates that we began working with the wireless carriers in 2012, started really turning them on to the network in 2013 and 14. And you'll see in present right now we're working through stage 2 and stage 3 transitions, as well as implementing some new technologies like ECATs and hosted controller. So we'll go on to the next slide. And this is our Next Generation 911 objectives. At the start of the project, we identified 3 objectives with the implementation of Next Generation 911. Those still hold true today, and our early action has set us up for future steps that help us evolve as Next Generation 911 technology and standards continue to mature. Now, the question is, have we accomplished all of our goals? Have we succeeded? To some degree, yeah, but there's still a lot of work that we need to do with the migration stage 2, as well as the alley migration. We've made good progress, but are we where we hoped we would be, and is it moving as quickly as we anticipated? Yeah, not really. I mean, we've had some delays, we've had some hiccups, but we're trying to work through those. But just to kind of run through the next generation stages to kind of set a baseline for everyone, we have 3 essential stages. Stage 1 is included the build out of Next Generation 911 infrastructure on NET-TN and implementation of the IP selective routers, or IPSRs. Stage 2 involves interconnecting the PSAPs via IP to NET-TN, and right now we have about 101 PSAPs live on stage 2, and more change and add activity is being managed and scheduled by Comtech. We're working hard with our vendors and PSAPs to move the deployments forward. Stage 3 is referred to as the alley transition and includes all transitional alley services where GIS data will be used to provide location information. And we've established a strong GIS baseline across the state through our GIS standards. However, we're waiting on a software update before we can resume activity on the alley transition work. With the goals or objectives of Next Generation 911, we continue to move toward consistency and seamless connections between the PSAPs for call transfers. We have the strategic plan that we have developed to show where we want to go, and we are looking at options that enable us to integrate enhanced services such as Text 911, spatial-based call routing, and location accuracy. The slide also highlights some of the Next Generation 911 metrics that we're proud of. The core network is stable, and we have processed over 15 million calls. In addition, we have participated and supported the GIS efforts across the state. We have a large number of PSAPs that are already at 98% match rate, and we know that everyone's working hard to maintain GIS quality data. Without your all's hard work and the project, the project would never succeed. So we appreciate all the hard work you've done and all the steps you've taken to get that GIS data to the quality of where it's at today. Let's go on to the next slide and kind of give you a brief overview of the structure of Next Generation 911 in Tennessee. For you all who are not familiar with the network design of Next Generation 911, this highlights the NG911 gateways, the IPSRs, and the different options for PSAP CPE connections. The originating service providers connect into 2 of 4 gateways located in Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, and Chattanooga. Each of the gateways then connect to both IPSRs in Nashville and Knoxville. From there, the typical setup is a single IP connection into the PSAP, but other options are available depending on PSAP facilities and PSAP decisions. We now have the call handling as a service or hosted call handling option for districts that choose to employ that CPE choice. The metrics on the previous slide show how stable and reliable the network has been for the state. And let's move on to the next slide. We shared this slide during the town hall meetings, and it illustrates Stage 2 deployment progress across the state and highlights NG911 deployment status. Our current focus is to continue to progress with Stage 2 migrations and get into Stage 3. Stage 1, infrastructure to create statewide EZNet and install IPSRs is complete. So we completely finished out Stage 1. We're about 69% complete with Stage 2. We have 14 PSAPs that are currently in progress with 101 PSAPs on the network right now. It's important to note that most of the remaining PSAPs are with a single CPE vendor, and we've recently had some really good activity underway with that vendor to bring those PSAPs onto Stage 2. For Stage 3, right now, preparation with the alley transition is in progress in the Jackson region. It will be the first region scheduled for transition. As I noted earlier, we're still waiting on the completion of that software update before we can start to move forward. And just to let you all know, that's the same software update that's required for text to 911. For our future focus of Next Generation 911, you know, we've always been a leader in NG911, and we don't want to lose sight of the solid operational infrastructure that's in place and which our calls on 911 currently route. With that, it's important that we continue to look forward and progress our solution to adapt as technology changes. So we need to be future focused and adapt with the changing technology. Just an example, the current solution will not support integrated services such as additional data and advanced location. Those are things we're going to have to work with. Currently, we're working with AT&T to understand the solution needed to evolve the network to include more next-generation core network services as outlined in the strategic plan, specifically geospatial routing, additional data, and location data management. If we can go on to the next slide, and then we might be able to take some questions before we get a little bit further into it. One of the recommendations that came as a result of the satisfaction survey was to make progress with Next Generation 911. We understand and recognize there has been a delay in the progress of Next Generation 911 beyond what anyone else wanted to have. So in addition to working our current initiatives for Stage 2 and Stage 3, we're looking ahead. The strategic plan has numerous technology initiatives included that support both the progress of NG911 as well as the advancement of the technology. We're working with AT&T to identify a plan for standards-based core services such as LDM, geospatial call routing, and the ability to provide additional data such as device hybrid location and location accuracy. We all know that Tennessee has really been a test bed for rapid SOS, and we would like to be able to integrate that technology into our core network. Right now, that's not a possibility, but we hope to work toward that in the future. In addition, we continue to push and focus on getting integrated text to 911 available over the network. You all, if you attended our recent board meeting or watched it online, there was a lot of discussion about the progress of text to 911, and the staff kind of expressed our frustration with the lack of progress. But we anticipate the software update that we've been waiting on, we anticipate it will be delivered either late this week or early next week. But as a contingency, AT&T's working to pull together some other alternatives. We have some meetings scheduled with them about those alternatives, and we'll be presenting those ideas to the technical and operational committees to make some recommendations to the board. In the meantime, I think it's important to note here that districts can still deploy text to 911 on their own. Now, it won't be over the next generation 911 network. It won't be an EZNet solution. But there are solutions that are available through TTY or a web portal. So there is a local option that you can employ. It won't be a statewide option. But we've always said that we would try to bring it over. We said we would bring it over the next generation 911 network. We've yet to be able to do that. But there are other options that you can employ if you choose to. Okay, let's stop right here before we get into some sort of some other project highlights and some future technologies, and see if anyone has any questions about the current network and where we're at.
Thank you, Curtis. We do have a question. Will Rapid SOS core functionality be a component portion of Stage 3, or is it outside the strategic plan?
Okay, thank you. That's a great question. It's not outside the strategic plan. In fact, it's one of the things that the strategic plan actually contemplates. Right now, it is outside of the core functionality of our next generation 911 network. So we can't deploy it statewide over NG911 as we're currently configured. But hopefully we can change that in the future, and we're continuing to explore those options with AT&T.
Thank you. That's the only question we have at this point.
Okay. Well, we can move on to our other project highlights. There are a few other areas of focus based on the work that's been in progress, as well as some input and requests from the districts. The first is the location accuracy. Based on your responses from the satisfaction survey, most people are interested in options for location accuracy. Like I said, we're looking into our options of providing that to the core network, and hopefully we can bring some options to the operations and technical committee when they meet once we get some responses from AT&T. The second thing would be mobile 911 solutions. The operations committee will be meeting at TINA to discuss this. We issued an RFI for mobile PSAP solution and mobile 911 solutions, and we evaluated those responses as a staff, but we really thought we should get the evaluation of the 911 community itself, and we need the input from that community and from the operations committee to bring some valuable information back to the board and maybe a recommendation. So we'll be taking that up at TINA, and hopefully we can get something for the board in November. The ECATS dashboard. I know that ECATS is not progressed as fast as everyone wanted. We are in need of your engagement with ECATS on providing back information they need to turn up their product. ECATS will be at TINA, and we'll be scheduling appointments to help discuss the forms that they sent out and other questions. We also had a conference with them last week, and they are working on a quicker solution so we don't have to identify internet service providers. They believe they may have found a solution that they can bring the equipment to the PSAP and then turn that equipment on and simply ask for access to your network, and that should do it. We're still working on that solution right now, but we've expressed that we don't think that the current deployment solution is working, and ECATS will be present at the November TECB board meeting to discuss the deployment and any sort of delays that we've encountered there and what they're planning on doing about that. But just as a reminder, I mean, the ECATS information is used to create a statewide dashboard that provides situational awareness and gives us the visibility into the health and network availability. Our newsletter updates, we had some feedback from our road shows, our town halls, about the newsletter, and some really good constructive feedback. And we continue to provide or strive to provide valuable and informative content in our newsletters. Just appreciate you all reading those. It seems like they're very successful. We have a very good readership of them. We've heard some requests for more industry information during town halls, and you will see a more of a combination of state and industry news in each edition. I know the latest edition had some really valuable industry news in it, and I hope you all take the time to read that newsletter. Our integrated text 911 solution, in addition to the discussion and plans outlined previously, we've been working with CPE vendors to understand the software versions and text readiness at PSAPs across the state. We engaged mission-critical partners to contact our CPE vendors that we've identified in the state and ask for their readiness. Basically, this will help us when the service becomes available and we can start deployment activity and make that activity move more quickly. We are still waiting on the software update, but we will be reviewing that and AT&T's other deployment options when they bring those to us, and we'll take those to the technical and operational committees during their joint meeting. And then notice a funding opportunity. I know you all are aware of the NG911 federal grant that was just released. I know you're aware of it because several of you have contacted me, emailed, and texted me about it. The grant is available at the states, the District of Columbia, U.S. territories, and tribal organizations. So it's not available at a local municipal level. However, we do plan on applying on behalf of the state of Tennessee. Our preliminary plan right now is to apply for PSAP connectivity redundancy, and that can take several forms. In Tennessee, our geography may prevent us from bringing in geodiverse paths for the network. However, in kind of coordination with what we're looking at for mobile solutions, there may be LTE solutions that we can bring to the PSAP for failover or backup redundancy. So we will be taking a look at those, and right now that's our initial plan for the to apply for the federal grant funding that just was released this past week or last week. So looking ahead, if we can go to the next slide, we have a training committee scheduled for this week, next week, August 24th, next Friday. We have the operational and technical committee meetings. We're trying to get them on the calendar right now. We've sent out an email to the committee members, and we've asked them if they can meet either August 27th or 29th. It looks like 27th is going to be the best date right now, but we don't have a quorum set up for that committee yet, or for those committees yet. If we do reach a quorum, then we'll go ahead and schedule that. If not, then we'll have to push that into September. The Operations Committee will meet again at TINA to discuss the RFI for the mobile PSAP and other mobile solutions. I did have a question as to why the Operations Committee couldn't meet in one meeting. We think that the Operations and Technical Committee meeting, joint meeting, will be a rather lengthy meeting to evaluate AT&T's text to 911 solution, as well as a transition plan off of the microdata hardware that the network currently runs on, and that has essentially been the holdup for our progress on Next Generation 911 as far as new technologies such as Text to 911 and ALI deployment. So at the last board meeting, the board asked us to begin looking at transitioning away from that product onto other products. So we've tasked AT&T with bringing us alternatives to microdata, and so we expect that to be a long meeting. The Operations Committee meeting at TINA will focus on mobile solutions primarily, and that may not be a very long meeting. I don't really know how to gauge that at this point in time. We had a number of responses to the RFI, and we will be providing those to the committee members. But there are also other solutions beyond a mobile PSAP that I think the 911 community would like to explore, and I think we would do ourselves good in exploring those as well as the RFI for the mobile PSAP. We will have a TINA roundtable discussion on September 17th. I think we have a Next Generation 911 roundtable as well as a board roundtable on that date. Those are in the late afternoon on September 17th. Our next board meeting will be November 7th. This will be a pretty packed agenda for this board meeting. This will also be the board meeting where the board votes to distribute the excess funding. So it will be an important meeting for the districts to tune in, but we will also bring the recommendations from the Technical and Operations Committee on Text to 911, as well as transitioning from microdata, as well as bringing the Operations Committee recommendation on the RFI or any sort of mobile solution. We may also have a training committee recommendation. I don't know if we'll have a recommendation come out of that committee meeting on the 24th or not. So November's going to be pretty packed for us. And then again, we'll have another webinar like this one on December 12th. So we plan on doing these quarterly. We appreciate your attendance. What we're trying to accomplish by these is to get you as much information as we possibly can and operate as transparently as we can. What we want to do is make sure that everyone in the state knows exactly what we're doing and what sort of progress we are making or not making. So we are trying to remain accountable to you all and give you the most recent and up-to-date information. Now, what we may do on the next webinar, it probably won't be the same subject matter. We want to bring you subjects that you are interested in. So it won't be an overview of Next Generation 911 again. However, if you continue to have questions on that, you can always ask any of the staff members here. If they don't have the answer, we will get you the answer. With that, I'm ready to open it up for any additional questions that anyone has, and certainly appreciate the time for everyone that took the time to attend today. Looks like we had about 50 attendees, and that's a really good turnout for the first webinar.
Curtis, we had 2 additional questions posted through the comment or the chat feature.
Okay.
I will ask those of you. The first one, any thought of obtaining an ECATS data portion? The dashboard will provide a statewide glance in real time of calls, but the data and statistics is what is so valuable.
Right. The board discussed that when they decided to provide the dashboard. There is an additional expense to that, and I don't think that the board was at that time ready to pick up that expense. Now, I can tell you that if you do participate in call handling as a service, you do have ECATS included with that. But right now, we don't have any plans to add that feature at the local PSAP.
Thank you. The next question that was posted, how do we get updates on these activities? Can the webinar meetings be read, or the outcomes be read, and those types of things?
We will continue to provide the newsletter as well as the quarterly information sheets. And the quarterly information sheets cover Next Generation 911, text to 911, call handling as a service. So those are revised before each board meeting, and we publish those to make sure everyone is aware as to what the progress is beyond for that quarter period of time. So you will receive quarterly updates on all this information. Again, if you have questions regarding any project that the board has undertaken, feel free to ask us. One thing I do want to say is that we are here at your disposal. If you have any questions or you need assistance with something, please contact us, the staff. If you need us to come to board meetings, we're happy to do that. I'll be going to one next Thursday. I'll also be going to a meeting next Wednesday that a handful of districts has put together. So we are, and our other staff members are going other places. We are at your disposal. We're here to assist you, and that's our number one priority. So anything that you need, any questions you have, if you contact us, we'll be glad to help you. One of the things we can't do is we can't help if we don't know what you need help with, and we can't answer questions if we don't know that you have questions. We're trying to, based on the feedback that we got from the town halls, we're really trying to improve the communication frequency as well as the level of information that you receive. But we still need some help with that. So it helps us out if there's an issue that you have questions about or need some assistance with, to contact us, and that way we can provide that assistance or those answers.
All right, good. Thanks, Curtis and Sheila. It sounds like there aren't any more questions that have been asked using the chat feature, but at this time we can open it up for any questions that anyone may want to ask, quote unquote live, or by coming off of mute. So are there any other questions that you wanted to raise or information you wanted to hear about this morning?
Well, if you guys think of any, we will be at TINA and having a Next Generation 911 roundtable, and so you have the opportunity to ask those there. Again, you can ask us anytime. Just by picking up the phone or sending an email. But if anything comes up between now and then and you want to discuss in the public forum, we'll be glad to have that discussion at TINA.
All right. Well, we thank you all for your time this morning, and look forward to seeing you at TINA and on future webinars.
Thank you all.